Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of Port Platte City Council on March 12, 2013. Tonight I would like to welcome the We Blow One Cub Scout Pack 361. And tonight we have the great honor of them leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if they would all like to come forward and stand up front.
You can go right through there.
And once they get started, I'd ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, the Lord's Prayer, and a moment of silence for our men and women serving overseas. So whenever you're ready, boys, we can start.
Scout salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ron Hockerman.
Present.
Deborah Rainbow.
Present.
Kathy Moss.
Present.
Mike Snyder.
Present.
Mark Koppler.
Present.
Randy Lipstrop.
Here.
Nicole DeFreitas.
Present. Thank you. There's some chairs just beyond the door. If you want to bring those in and sit down, please feel free. Okay. Council, before you, you have the minutes of the February 12th regular meeting. I'd like to take a motion to accept the minutes as written.
So moved, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. Snell. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
I would like my name to have two P's and one O instead of two O's and one D. Just saying.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The chair notes that certification has been received regarding compliance with the rules and notification of this meeting. Mr. Oxter, did you want to say anything about your group? Or?
I appreciate Detective Carpenter giving us a tour, police station, and Mayor giving us a tour. I appreciate their support. Thank you very much.
Did you guys want to stay for the whole meeting? Or?
It's up to you guys. Could be lengthy, depends how windy everybody is.
It's completely up to you.
Okay.
But this is a good meeting
Eye-opener.
point if you'd like to. But otherwise, you're welcome to stay. We will now go to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple different correspondence I'd like to bring your attention. Just yesterday, I received a letter from the Ottawa County Housing Authority from Ms. Trish McCartney, the president of the Ottawa County Housing Authority, asking for a, excuse me, looking to reappoint Reverend Bob Butcher to the Board of Directors. The term would be from January of this year till December of 2016. He graciously agreed to continue service and brings 8 years of experience to this appointment. With that, the appointment being in my hands, I will forward that and appoint Mr. Bob Butcher to another term. Excuse me. On another note, the Village of Elmore has offered an invitation to attend the Mayor's Summit on Thursday, April 11th. The summit will be open at 5:30. Dinner will be served and provided for the representatives from the city. This invitation came from Mayor Lowell Crumnow. Excuse me. What I would ask is that if any of the council people are interested, please contact Jen Porter so that we can get an amount of people going and we could afford on our SBP. That is all, Madam President.
Thank you. Auditor's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to remind everyone that I sent out the month-end reports for February 2013 very early last week, so if you did not get those, please let me know. I have noticed that I've gotten a couple of emails bounce back to me, so if that's you and you have not received the reports, please let me know. I'll make sure we can get those to you. That is it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Law Director's report.
I passed out at your places an ordinance number 13 tonight to have you look at. If you would add that to the agenda, that was requested by the mayor and the safety service director. It doesn't need to be passed tonight. It's in regards to filing an application for some transportation enhancement funds for the sidewalk along West Lakeshore Drive. I believe the deadline for submission of the application is May 1st. May 1st. And then at the conclusion of the regular meeting, I'd like to ask council to have an executive session tonight to talk about some pending litigation that the city is involved in. That's all I have.
Thank you. Safety Service Director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make a note that cemetery cleanup is moved to the March 18th instead of the 15th. Guys have something to do on that day, so we're moving it to the 18th. Items can go back on the graves on March 20th or after. Obviously, Maple Street has started. We talked about that the other day. The water line and street improvement replacement is underway. And I know there was something in the paper, but just so everybody knows, 6th and Jefferson, the traffic light is coming out there. So what we have to do is put it on flash and temporary stop signs for 90 days. That will start on March 22nd. That's when we will put that intersection to a 4-way, red flashing lights, and 4 temporary stop signs. And that's all I have tonight, Madam President.
Fire Chief's report.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Thank you. Under correspondence, do you think I skipped the?
He was all prepared. He was prepared.
Oh, does the police chief have anything to report tonight?
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Well, Coach.
That's good.
Under correspondence, I have an NPDES permit to discharge to state waters. The name of the applicant is Faruqi Patel, and he's doing business as Bayshore Inn, which is located on 2149 East Mill Road. The receiving stream is an unnamed tributary to Lake Erie. Again, if you wish to comment, you need to do so within 30 days of yesterday. And the clerk will have the address and where your complaint can be sent to. I also have from Lake Erie Shores and Islands a letter from Mr. Fletcher outlining the events of last year, and if you'd like to see that report, again, the clerk will have that. Once again, this is from the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control. It's that time of the year when all of the permits have to be renewed, and so I would ask the Emergency Services Committee to report at next council meeting. If you would get with the police chief and find out if there's any objections to any of the permits that we currently have.
Certainly.
Okay. I would take a motion to accept the correspondence as stated, plus the planning and development minutes of March 5th and the auditor's report, which you received by email.
So moved, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. Mel. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I just wanted to note that I made a last-minute correction to those minutes, simply adding the name of a person who attended the meeting that had been left off. So I forwarded that to Tiffany.
Oh, okay.
Correction.
So she has the correct
Yes.
one. Okay. Thank you. Any objection? No. All those in favor, let's try that. Aye. Thank you. We will now go to the readings of ordinances and resolutions. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only, ordinance 07-13.
Ordinance 07-13. An ordinance establishing a video service provider fee to be paid by any video service provider offering video service in the city of Fort Bragg. Authorizing the Director of Safety and Service to give notice to the video service providers of a video service provider fee and declaring an emergency.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 07-13, Mr. Coppel?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to table ordinance 0713 to the next meeting.
Thank you. I have a motion to table ordinance 0713 till the March 26th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Benko. Any discussion?
The Finance Committee would like to is wanting to table this ordinance till the next meeting as we are doing a little more research on fees in surrounding communities.
Any further discussion? Mr. Snyder?
Madam President, I'm going to excuse myself from any discussion and voting on this topic, as there may be a perceived conflict in my private sector job.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Ackerman?
Mr. Copper, would those fees then have an effect on the billing of our constituents in town? Is that the reason we want to look at those?
Well, the fees are what the service, the video service provider pays us, and then this that would be up to their discretion.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Randy Lipscomb.
Yes.
Mark Hoffman.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Abstain.
Kathy Mount.
Yes.
Deborah Banko.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 07-13 has been tabled to the 326 meeting. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only, ordinance 08-13.
Ordinance 08-13, an ordinance creating an economic development fund for the city of Fort Putnam, Ohio.
Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 08-13? Ms. Baker?
Madam President, I move that we adopt ordinance 08-13.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 08-13. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lipscomb. Any discussion? Mr. Ackerman?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to thank the committee who's done an excellent job at pursuing this and keeping it at the forefront of what they've been doing. I think this ordinance is going to be very helpful for our city, so thank you very much.
Ms. Baker?
You're welcome, Mr. Ackerman. And I should add that essentially it's 2 years' worth of planning and development committees who have worked on this issue since we started on it last year. So there have been several council members key to its implementation, including former Councilman Hatfield, Councilman Lipstraw, and this year's planning and development committee members, Councilman Poplar and Councilman Snyder. And I would like to note formally that at the last committee meeting, the Council Planning and Development Committee did vote unanimously to recommend that council approve the ordinance to establish an economic development fund, and I have the signed recommendation here. And I would just like to add that this is to create an economic development fund that is going to be used for a broad range of economic development purposes. This is essentially the first time that a separate fund has been created for the idea of long-range investment in economic growth in the city and jobs growth in the city. And there are, however, still a number of things that need to be worked out until this is actually a functional fund. We need to pass an ordinance establishing funding sources for the fund, and also would wind up passing different enabling ordinances for different programs that might be funded from the fund, which would include possibly a revolving loan program, business incubator services, other types of consulting services that might be warranted for different projects, perhaps some sort of grant program for local businesses. There are a whole range of possibilities that are being discussed by council. So by all means, if anybody in the community has input regarding what types of programs they would like to see, certainly I welcome them to provide that to council so that we can make that a part of the ongoing discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Mark Poplar.
Yes.
Randy Lipscomb.
Yes.
Deborah Banko.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Kathy Mount.
Yes.
And Nicole DeFreitas.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 08-13 has been adopted. We have no second readings of ordinance and resolutions, and I would now entertain a motion to put ordinance 12-13 on tonight's agenda for its first reading.
So moved, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Thank you, Mrs. DeFreitas. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Rubenko.
Yes.
Nicole DeBreyes.
Yes.
Randy Lipstraw.
Yes.
Ron Ackerman.
Yes.
Mark Hopler.
Yes.
Mike Snyder.
Yes.
Kathy Mount.
Yes. Thank you. Would the clerk now read by title and summary only ordinance number 12-13?
Ordinance number 12-13. An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to submit an application to the Ohio Department of Transportation for transportation enhancement funds for the West Lake Shore Drive sidewalk project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action this evening on ordinance 12-13? Seeing none, that will be moved for its second reading to the March 26th meeting. We will now go to business from the floor. Mr. Coppler.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I'd like to say I was at the, last Saturday, I was at the Fort Clinton Fullbackers Wild Game Feed. It was a fantastic time, and they plan on making this a yearly event, so if you get a chance next year, you should think about showing up there. It was a great time. They did really well. The food was great. So we'll move on to, at the last regular council meeting, Mayor Leone, you mentioned that you'd like to hear a council member's reaction to Mr. Rose's presentation on February 20th. And I do have a few comments in regards to that presentation. I must say the people that I have talked with that know Mr. Rose or have dealt with Mr. Rose have had good things to say about him. And it was great to see that a developer was taking interest in the downtown and the waterfront. But I have a few reservations, starting with how this project has been brought to this point. As some of you know, last year, council members, and specifically Planning and Development Committee, were discussing the possibility of hiring JMBN Law Firm to assist in locating developers for the Waterworks property. Now, this is one area of expertise for this firm. And they would have cast a large net, I'm going to stay with the fishing theme, to find an array of developers that could bring different ideas to the property. And there were many heated meetings throughout last summer, until finally Ordinance 32-12 was brought to council for first reading on August 28th. Now, Mayor Leone, you weighed in on the matter at the next meeting on September 11, 2012, and I'd like to read a few of your comments. These were taken off of a audio file that's kept by the clerk of council, and I made a public records request for this audio and for two others. And this is off the mayor's report. Back then in 2007 and after that, we heard about how the city of Port Clinton needs an anchor. We've got to have something to draw everybody to this area. I ask everyone, take your blinders off, take a look at that waterfront